Hello, everybody. Sounds like there were some technical difficulties for everybody. Apologies for that. Matt and I were actually sitting in the previous webinar link and wondering where everybody was. We saw there were no attendees and we thought, this doesn't seem right. So glad to see you all on this one. Excited that we all were able to come together. Thank you. I don't know if Anton's still on, but I saw that he was originally in here. So kudos and thanks to him for getting us all squared away. All right. I am looking at the question pane. Okay, not sure if you all experienced the technical difficulties or if Matt and I had the wrong link. I'm not really sure what happened. If you guys have all been in here for a while, it'd be interesting because somebody just noticed or said technical difficulties question mark. So I'm not sure if that meant you guys didn't experience it and we were just given opposite links to where you guys were. I don't know exactly what happened. But either way, we are all together now and that is what matters. So let's get us kicked off. And while I'm kicking us off, okay, thanks, Hal. So you have been here just waiting. That's so interesting. So why did we have different links, Matt? That's interesting. Okay. We'll figure that one out on the back end. Apologies again, everybody, for us not being here to kick it off. We actually thought you guys hadn't joined us. So funny thing, we were just both sitting in different rooms. Okay, again, thank you guys for being here. Excited about today's session. As we're kicking off and doing some quick introductions for anybody who hasn't been here before, please feel free to start putting your questions in the question pane of GoToWebinar. That is where we communicate. We can unmute you, we can talk to you, we can have you share screens and do things like that. But to kick us off and start, we typically just start with that question pane. So please feel free to do that as I get us going. So welcome again. My name is Tiffany Bachmaier. I actually lead the manufacturing consulting team for the Americas here at Autodesk. But I am wearing a different hat today whenever I join these webinars. I am wearing my AutoCAD electrical subject matter expert hat. I've been in the software for many, many years, actually since its inception with Autodesk. I was in the industry doing electrical controls design in both AutoCAD and then ultimately in electrical before I actually became a consultant. So lots of years with this particular package, very near and dear to my heart. I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Matt Durst, on my team, who is a vault expert as well. So while he's here really to help me facilitate this webinar, it's really become a co-collaboration between the two of us because we get often very many vault questions with AutoCAD Electrical. So please feel free if you have questions on the data management side to add those to the question pane as well. And Matt, I don't know if you want to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Tiffany. Always glad to be here. It's exciting seeing the questions come in. Like Tiffany said, my background's in data management. So with Autodesk Vault, I have 10 plus years consulting experience with data management and most of the manufacturing products. So I'm also a service industry lead for manufacturing. So I can bring expertise in that area as well. But again, yeah, just go ahead and submit. Looks like we already have some questions coming into the pane, and we'll get started that way. And Tiffany, you ready to kick off the first question?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
Okay, so it's actually a little bit longer one, so I don't know if you want to pull it up too to kind of read along.
All right.
But Mark sends us in. So it says he has 2 PLC options for projects, Siemens and AB. I have a PLC power on sheet 1 going to sheet 10 for Siemens PLC with related sheets. I would like to use this same power feed to sheet 20 for an AB PLC as an alternate option in the same project. I'm interested in your thoughts on the manageability of one combination or 2 separate projects. The engineers that will be working in the project are not AutoCAD savvy, which concerns me.
Yeah, so Mark, thank you for that one. And and thank you, Matt, for reading it. I think it's important for everybody else to know the context. Mark actually sent this to me in LinkedIn yesterday, and so I had a chance to review it ahead of this call, which was actually just so you all know anecdotally how Matt and I knew something was definitely wrong with the webinar that we were in, because we were wondering, well, did we get the wrong day? And they're actually all still set up for the 3rd Thursday. And I said, no, because I know Mark sent this to me in LinkedIn. So I knew that it had gone out to you all for today. So thank you, Mark, for that. You helped me in more ways than you probably even knew that you were going to. and we may need to unmute you. I know you offered that you could share a bit more and talk about it. My off the top reading that and understanding your situation recommendation is to keep it all within the same project. And this is just important advice for everybody across the board as you think about how you're going to set up AutoCAD electrical projects. A project in AutoCAD electrical should mean anything that you intend to connect to one another. Now, if that becomes massive and you just don't want to manage that as one project, you could break them apart as long as there's like single power connecting, perhaps daisy chaining cabinets, things like that. However, I normally say if you want interoperability between any of your drawings and there are things that are connected, same as they would be on the shop floor as they're being built, that should be the same AutoCAD electrical project. Now, what that could mean is that you have hundreds of drawings in a single project, and that's okay. The system can handle it. The best part about it is the ability, and I'm going to start to share my screen now. Give me just a second. For some reason, my GoToWebinar control pane is not allowing me to expand it, and it's driving me a little bit crazy. Hang on one second. And I think I have to promote my own self as a presenter. Always a funny thing. Okay, let's see. All right, should be rocking and rolling now. Matt, can you confirm that you can see my AutoCAD electrical?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet, okay.
There it comes, there it is. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so one of the beautiful things about being able to manage our projects as one big master, there's been tons of forums and discussions over the years about sub projects under a main project and creating that and ways around that. Honestly, when we were given the folder structures within project management, that basically became that sub project. So there's not all this other finessing that I think you really have to do to create sub projects. It's there by just using the folder structure. The folder structure is not a Windows folder structure. It does not change where your actual drawings live, whether you have them in our vault, if you have them in a different data management package, anything else. It's how AutoCAD Electrical treats them. So when you look at this particular project I'm on right now, which is basic workflow, I have two very basic folders. I have schematics and I have panel. And if I expand these, I have drawings under each of those. Whenever I do anything drawing wide, so let's say I just want to do, and Mark, I know you know all of this, but I'm just using your example to share with everybody the ideas around this. Whenever I do any sort of command that's going to force an update to the whole project, so let's just say something like this one. Whenever you do a project wide, and remember, project wide just means more than the active drawing you're on. It does not have to mean every single drawing in the project. You can utilize this subfolder opportunity to say, I just want to run everything on the schematics or just on the panel. Same thing can be done with reports. Same thing can be done basically with any other thing that we would run a project wide command on. So when you do that, you actually get the functionality of a sub project inside of that big overarching project, which allows you the flexibility to manage them separately, but the opportunity to connect them to one another when you need to. So that's my advice with your PLC example, Mark. I really think that you're probably your best bet, even if they're not AutoCAD electrical savvy. And on that note, when you have people that are not savvy, first and foremost, do everything you can to make them savvy. Let's get them into a class. Let's have them take some training. Let's help them to understand why they can't just go rogue and do whatever they want inside of the software package, because what you really need for them to do is understand the immense amount of automation and automation. Did I say automation? I said automation twice. Automation and flexibility that AutoCAD Electrical can give you so that you actually get all of those intelligent properties coming through and they don't go rogue and start deleting things that shouldn't be manually deleted. They don't start creating dummy blocks and just throw them in there and start blending in your electrical and your AutoCAD drawings together. So the key is that. Now, when you have people that may go rogue on you, one of the best things you can utilize is the Mark Verify tool. So this particular tool right here is crucial to us actually being able to see any edits and things done to the project by anyone using AutoCAD, AutoCAD LT, or electrical, so that you can have a better view of what may have been done if there are chances of them going rogue and perhaps creating extra work for you inside the drawings. At least you can pinpoint down to it. And again, Mark, I know you know about Mark Verify. I just wanted to make sure everybody else heard that as well. Hopefully that answered your question. Matt,
Yeah,
hit me with the
perfect.
next one.
Yes, yes. So, excuse me. Michael asked, could you please run through how to create, I believe that's Wago, 4-position through terminal with a jumper?
I'm just reading it too so I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm not sure I necessarily know. Are you, so let's just talk about terminals in general. Do you, and Michael, and maybe we'll jump to the next question. I want you to answer this for me before we jump back to it. Do you want to see it from a panel view or from the schematics and how you would do that with jumpers? Because those are two different workflows, but I'm just curious what it is that you want to see, and then we can definitely go through that. And I'm reading, Matt, ahead of time, Peggy's question.
Yep.
So Peggy, I might need a little bit more information. What changes the monitored system variable seemingly for no reason? Thank you. So that sounds like perhaps you're having some performance challenges and you're seeing system variables get changed or flipped and you're wondering why. I don't know. So let's just talk system variables in general. So system variables are not unique to electrical. That's an AutoCAD core functionality. By the very nature of the term, they are technically in most cases system-wide variables that are affected. So no matter what drawing you go into, that variable is either in many cases on or off. Some of them have more than just the 0 and 1 on and off standpoint. We could get into all of that. There are hundreds of system variables, but typically when you see functionality changes with it, it's because on open, somebody has customized the on open setup to how you, whenever you open any drawing in electrical, and that can flip certain system variables and settings to be what you need it to be on open. There are some system variables that are actually drawing based, not system based. So you could have a different reaction from a system variable in one drawing to another, depending on that. Most are system wide. There are a few out there that are at a drawing based system variable toggle. So again, not entirely sure what specifically you're asking here or what you're seeing, but my guess is if it's seemingly happening for no reason, either something's been hard coded into one of your drawings or somebody in your IT team has customized the on open setup so that it is flipping system variables every time you open a new drawing. Those are probably my two top thoughts on that one.
Yeah, and I don't see any update from Michael just
Okay.
yet.
That's okay. We can circle back on that then. Let's go to, what's the next one? I lost my space.
Trevor?
Okay.
Yeah, Trevor has a question around terminal blocks. Can you have terminal blocks in the editor that are not a rectangle shape? Specifically asking about a double level Phoenix contact terminal block.
Absolutely. So I think you're talking specifically in the terminal strip editor. You can build the terminal strip. So the terminal strip editor just accesses existing blocks that come with the software to create that. So just for everybody's knowledge here, from a schematic standpoint, in the icon menu, when you go into terminals, you have 5 different styles and 4 different types of terminals within those particular 5 styles. So obviously you can get a lot more than just the standard square or rectangle. For what you're specifically asking, I believe you're looking at in the terminal strip editor. Give me a second. Things are running slow on my system today. I'm not sure why. So if we were to just grab any one of these on this drawing, I don't really have set up for terminals, but if you were to look at any one of these terminals and you would want to actually go out to the layout preview, I think you're asking me if this doesn't have to be in a rectangular shape this way. Absolutely. So you can build your terminal blocks and what gets inserted based off of the part number in whatever way you want. You can edit those blocks. They're all in the symbol libraries. You can make them whatever you want them to be. Now, on the order of Phoenix Contact and Wago, there are actually some opportunities here where you can send in our import export, and and maybe this will even help. Is it Michael? Michael's question too. You can actually, and let me leave this. You can go to the import exports and you can actually send these. So we had a connection with Wago and with Phoenix Contact where you can actually send out your terminal strip information and their tools will automatically put together all of the accessories and the setup of the terminal strip, and you can actually import them back in to the drawing so that you can get that view of what gets created within their own smart designer tools. And I can't remember what Phoenix Contacts is called, but Clip Project. So you can do absolutely that if you wanted that visual to look slightly different. So just a little tip from Wago and Phoenix Contacts. All right, how do I keep losing my spot, Matt?
The next question is from Todd Myers. Is there any talk about making the fan-in, fan-out tool more user-friendly, especially when having cable conductors across multiple sheets?
So I'd love to know more about what. So first of all, the answer is we're always looking at what next things might we want to do in next releases of the software. And I work. Any of you that joined earlier in the year to our webinar where I actually had us all in Mural talking about what would be the top things you'd like to see in the next release of AutoCAD Electrical. We're always interested in those improvements and those things that can be done. I would like to know a little bit more, Todd, what specifically you'd like to see out of it. You can absolutely have multiple cable conductors go across multiple sheets. I mean, that's all our source and destination arrows, and you can connect those by the cable IDs and the connectors. So the overarching main cable would get its cable ID, and then the fan outs of it could go out to multiple pages. You can absolutely do that and still connect them. But I'd love to know more about what functionality you're looking for. If it's something that we don't have, I'm happy to share that with the product team and get ideas on, if that could go into future releases. Also,
Okay.
another tip, if you're doing a lot of harness design with cables fanning in, fanning out, think about utilizing our EMX connection and actually doing that in Inventor. And when you do it in Inventor, you can actually do the real routing, all of the connections between it, and then you can populate that automatically back into Electrical and have it design it yourself, which may take you a lot less time because you're allowing the actual connected real life links and everything else to happen in Inventor, and then you're bringing that back into Electrical in its own representation that it will do for you automatically. So that could be another benefit to it, just a side note.
So Tiffany, going back to Michael's question, he's provided a little bit more information at the bottom. He said mainly asking how to use TSE add a jumper. So in an assembly, but how to connect it in a schematic.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So couple things, and let me see if I can't. I'm gonna open a new, not create a new project. Open a project that's kind of pre-set up for this. I'm actually just gonna throw, let's do this drawing. I'm gonna throw some terminals on here really fast. If you guys have never used the multiple insert, it's my favorite thing to do when it comes to terminals. So I'm gonna grab terminals. Let's have fun with this. Let's do a diamond. I'm in a fence. If you've never done this, is how you can do multiples really fast. Everywhere that this line that I drew crosses, you will get a terminal. I'm gonna keep this one. All right. let's just make these all a new tag strip name. We'll just leave them on this particular part number. That should be fine. All right. Okay, so I'm going to throw all these terminals on here really fast. Now, you can add jumpers here. The thing that I think catches people the most when it comes to jumpers in the schematic is everyone expects to see, I shouldn't say everyone, many people expect to see the little loop that they're used to seeing when they drew it in vanilla AutoCAD to create that. Now, you can draw that yourself if you want to. You can, but it's not needed because what we do is the jumpers themselves are actually listed in there as a specific association and property within to the terminals themselves. So when we have that in there, then when we actually go out to put these into the terminal strip editor, then it knows what terminals are supposed to be jumpered together, and it will actually show you, you can actually create jumper charts and jumper lists, and it will know what things are jumpered. So it doesn't show visually on screen, which I know can throw some people. Again, you could draw the wire connections if you really want to, but the actual jumpering goes into the block itself. So on that note, if I were to say that I want to edit this jumper, I'm going to select this terminal. I'm going to select this terminal, and I'm going to hit enter. So now I have actually assigned a jumper. I can even give that jumper a catalog number if I want that to go into my bill of materials for the specific jumper type, and it will connect those two together. So that's how you add a jumper. It's quite easy inside the schematics. That is an external jumper. An internal jumper, if it was, say, a multi-level terminal, that actually happens by associations. So if I were to say that, this is not going to make a ton of sense, but if I were to say that this terminal, I am going to associate with, oops, and Snap is getting me. If I, come on. How does this carry no block properties? What happened here? You guys all saw me give it block properties. Ah, I didn't make it a multi-level, that's why. I chose a part number that wasn't multi-level, so it's not gonna let me do it. If you have a multi-level terminal, you do it by saying add association. So that's the difference between the jumper and the associating terminals. Association is to actually give it the upper and lower values in a multi-level terminal setup. So when you see all of those things, just to show you what this will look like in execution, and I'm actually going to use, because I didn't fill all of this out, a different project that's already filled out. No, not there. Sorry, picking which projects I want, always fun. Okay. I don't have, normally all of my projects are pre-populated into my project manager, but with 2021 now being on my computer, and I actually just recently reinstalled because I was setting up a different computer, I don't have all of these things in here right now. All right, so if we were to look at a drawing like this one, and I know it's really fun to watch somebody actually do this. It can be a little boring, so apologies for the delays. That's what doing these things on the fly is all about. Okay, so if I choose one of these strips to edit, you can see this one actually has multi-levels in it. If there were internal jumpers or associations, you're going to see them. The internal will be on the left-hand side, and external jumper would be on the right-hand side. You can see this one does have some external jumpers associated to. So if I click the layout preview right now, and I just want to insert it right here, you can see that not only will it come in with all of that information, but then I can either separately install this, or I can right click on this and say that I want to insert a jumper chart next to it. And it will give me my jumper chart right here. So you can see where the jumper terminals are. And I have this concatenating backwards because of a different testing I was doing. Normally this would come in as 603A being on top. I know some of you might be wondering why on earth it's flipped. That was just something I had done in this setup of this run testing with somebody else. So hopefully that answers your question. It's really easy to set those. Now, if you didn't do it in the schematics like we looked at before, you can in the editor also add those jumpers right there. And I think many times people feel more comfortable doing it there because they can see it. So if we were to go back in here, everything that we had from the schematic opportunities are all here in all of these different icons that you're finding down here. So we've got jumpers, assigning jumpers, you can delete them, multi-level associations, all of that is all built in to the terminal strip editor as well. So you have a choice in whether or not you do it in your schematic or you do it in your terminal strip editor itself. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. I think we have a pretty good question by Derek here. He's looking for some advice on which application to use, possibly between AutoCAD Electrical or Revit. Can you help with maybe a comparison here and help deciding which one is the best tool to use?
So my guess, Derek, is that you are in the AEC space in some capacity, probably doing some sort of MEP work. I typically shy away significantly from having anyone use AutoCAD Electrical for MEP design for buildings. The intent of AutoCAD Electrical is really around controls design. So it's for industrial machinery, shop floor, that setup. Now, I have over the years seen many people, because of the tools that we have in here, want to use it in an AEC space. You can do that. The challenge you're going to have is our connections are all to Inventor, not to Revit. So if you want to be able to get this information back into Revit, you're better off using the tools for MEP already built into Revit, or if there's a reason why you need AutoCAD specifically, using AutoCAD MEP. But typically the connection that you need to get from electrical to your Revit drawings, because of the rest of the BIM requirements of what you might need in the model, you're going to have a harder lift with that. Now, with the fact that AutoCAD Electrical does talk directly to Inventor, and Inventor can talk to Revit, you could walk that walk if you needed to. But I would be using electrical for whatever you're doing in a MEP space, only if there's something in electrical very specifically that you need that would change the way you work and be astronomically helpful to you, that you don't get out of the MEP tools in Revit. If that's the case, then I think you could use that workflow and make it work for you. But on a whole, I tend to tell people not to use AutoCAD Electrical for building design of electrical components. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Peter asked a question about the Vault Thin client.
It's all
He's
you.
asking, he's asking if the Vault Thin client is going away now that Autodesk is a user sign-in from a multi-user sign-in. So Peter, just to clarify, the Vault Thin client does not require any license. It does require a sign-in for a user, but that sign-in is directly related inside the Vault. So once you do have your Vault Professional set up, you will set up user sign-ins inside the Vault client, nothing to do with licensing at that point, and those users will be able to sign into the Vault Thin client. Now, there are other avenues inside the Vault client right now to share files, either externally, or if you want to keep them internally, you can do that. So I think right now there's other avenues to do that, but as of right now, no, the Thin client is not going away. So there's still, I think, a much needed use for it, and it does work very well for some workflows inside the Vault. So.
Good question. All right,
Yeah.
I was reading along with the next one. If we keep all of the panels in the same project, can you still have individual BOMs? When I run AE resequence, it renumbers every part number in the project, which leaves skipped numbers in the BOM. Oh, and he left this meeting already. Well, so first of all, to answer Darren's question, yes, you can still run individual BOMs. So the individual BOMs would actually be just based off of, I mean, you can actually set it up for anything. You can run BOMs on just location codes. You can run BOMs on installation codes. You can do them off of a combination of certain ones, but you could also run it on specific folders that you're putting in. So you could say, I only want to run it on everything for, if you have panels 1, 2, and 3 all in the same project because they connect to each other and you want to run a report on just panel 1, you can absolutely do that. Now, to his point, there is a resequencing of item numbers that we have set up project-wide, not at an individual drawing basis, because it was creating some ugly setups to having duplication of item numbers within the same project. But that's not resequencing it drawing by drawing. It's resequencing it by the actual specific part numbers. So that still shouldn't cause the challenge for the skipped numbers that I was seeing when he said, the only thing I'm guessing is that perhaps you don't see it go 1 through 50 if some of those part numbers are on other pages compared to others. Things to think about, but I'd be curious to know what the challenge is, but I know he's not on anymore to ask that. But yes, you can absolutely run individual BOMs to answer his question. All right.
Yeah, and Tiffany, we have a little bit longer question. Do you want me to read through it for the audience, or do you want to?
Sure. Why don't you read through it? I'll read simultaneously to prep myself for answering
Okay,
it. And oh, the sun is coming.
perfect. So Hal asks, how do you use power distribution blocks? For example, I have a three-phase DB, input side, 1 terminal for each incoming phase. Output side, 6 terminals per phase. And to make it even more complicated, I can put 2 wires on each output terminal. This wiring will span numerous drawings. How do you properly use a DB and be able to have all the benefits of TB layouts or cable details? Glad to talk this one out if needed.
Hal, it's a great question. And it's not a complicated one. So distribution blocks can be customized however you want inside of our symbol builder. You can build them to be however you need them to be. They're actually quite easy when you go into the symbol builder to set up. So if I were to just create a new one, we're just going to consider it a horizontal parent at this point. Generic is fine. My symbol builder tools over here. I'm going to turn off docking so I can sit it on top of here. Okay, so what you would do is you would actually go, and my advice would be to do your wire connections first. We can add all the everything else later, but if we go into the wire connections and we actually use this others option right here, what you'll see is you can set up all of your terminal types. So in a distribution block, you can, and if it needs 2 sides or whatever it needs, that's fine. I'm going to do a really basic one, but you can choose whether or not it's a screw terminal, if you just want to circle, a square, whatever you want it to be. And then what you can say is, I know that I have 10 of these. If they're pretty evenly spaced, obviously I know you said there were, I think, 6 on one side, something else on the other, 3 on the other. So you can do this however you want. But let's just say, I'm going to say this is -1, so it builds down. Now you can tell it what your connection types are. So if it gets multiple wire connections to it, you can have those terminals be able to accept wires from multiple sides. So left and bottom, top, right, left, all along the way, you can choose that. You also, in each terminal property, can define how many wires that terminal can accept. So that's another opportunity for you to change the terminal prompts to be able to get what you want out of it. But let's just say I wanted all sides. I want to be able to connect wires in from any direction. If I go in and insert that, it's going to come in with all of these here. It's building them as we go. Again, you can see all of the pins and the properties then that came in here. I can adjust these properties, what it allows for, how many wires per point, all of that good stuff. I can draw a rectangle right in here and say I want it to be around all of these. And obviously it does not need to include the text because the text is just going to be single numbers. They're a lot bigger attributes than they really are. to make up that. And then we would just add the regular attributes that we need to make this an intelligent block. So you can do whatever you want. And you can make that distribution block can be in any shape or form. I use obviously the array method of adding these in here, but you could place them as you need to, put 3 on one side, 6 on the other, build it up how you want to. Distribution blocks can be 100% customized. It's super easy to get all of those wire connections in there. All right. Hopefully that helps. Matt, hit me with the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does AutoCAD Electrical handle a 2-level terminal with a fuse on the top level? It will probably be easier to share screen and unmute me. So do you want to, Tiffany, you want me to unmute Brandon?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. All right, Brandon, we're going to go ahead and unmute you, and then I don't know if Tiffany, you have to stop sharing. If he wants to
I do
share, we
have
can
to
make him
stop
presenter.
sharing. Yep, absolutely.
So Brandon, I'm going to make you presenter. And you should be able to share your screen here. Perfect, we can see it.
All right, I got a quick question. So I have a component that's a pass-through terminal on the bottom, a knife disconnect fuse on top. By default, AutoCAD Electrical doesn't really have a terminal that's shown kind of as a fuse. So I built that, and it passes. It'll give me a different wire number. My problem is I'm trying to automate I want to almost treat this as a component for picking up I need a unique identifier here because we do fuse charting. The only way that I've been able to figure it out is by essentially putting it in manually. Is there a way to essentially treat this as I'm almost trying to mimic the tag 1 attribute. But the moment you put in a tag 1 attribute in here, it becomes a component. But since this is a 2-tiered terminal, I want to associate the terminals together.
But if you put those wire properties into the actual fuse block, you could probably still get the associations you need within the properties in the symbol builder to preset up those terminal points. And then you could get the unique identifier of the fuse that you really need.
Okay.
That would be my advice. So doing basically exactly what I just showed, because all that is of a distribution block is making the distribution block the main component, but setting up everything that connects into it as terminals, just like we would do a PLC with IO points, so that it can have all the different connections into it. So you can tell it how many wires to accept in those terminal properties, how to associate, what those multi-level associations might be, but still have that be incorporated with getting a unique identifier on it. That would be my advice.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Tiffany, do we have to make you presenter again?
Maybe.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so you are presenter again, and for the next question, is there a recovery or maybe a recycle bin for the WDP file? So if it gets deleted mistakenly, is there a way we can get it back? Is there kind of a backup file or something for that?
First, I'd want to be knowing why, how on earth that's happening, and then I would say you need Vault to make sure that those things don't happen. I don't know of a recycle bin other than if you're not using a data management package and you're just using Windows. I mean, you've got your recycle bin there.
Right.
Outside of that, there's not something within electrical that I am aware of that would do that. However, it's not hard to rebuild a project file, right? The project file itself, it does have all of your settings in it, but assuming you have another project that's similar, you can copy those settings in when you create a new one, and all you need to do is add all the drawings to that project back to that project. So you just create a new WDP file, give it the same name, and then just say associate all these drawings to this project. It's not a hard lift if you were to lose it. It's not like by deleting the WDP, you don't delete all the drawings. They're not associated that way in Windows Explorer. So it would not be it's not devastating to lose your WDP file. But again, I'd be questioning why that's happening, and then perhaps you need something like a Vault to make sure that you don't have to do that extra step of building another one. But it's not like it's a massive lift.
Okay, Tiffany, I think we have a good one here, which could be answered, I think, a couple different ways depending.
Okay.
So is there a way to copy drawings from one subfolder to a new subfolder, both within the same project and to another project? So I know my answer would be within Vault, there's copy design, which allows you to copy drawings and maintain relationships, all while using a find and replace if you need to rename things. So that would be my answer. So Tiffany, is there anything in electrical where you can do something like that?
I mean, so we have copy to, which you can choose where you want it to copy to, right? Like, do you want to copy the same drawing inside the same project? Now, remember, it's not about the folders because in here, it's just about it associating to the project. And then you would just move it. Like if you copied this one and I renamed it and then I just slid it down to put it in another folder, I could do that. You can copy your entire project, and it's one of my absolute favorite commands. So if you go to your project settings, and it's the key, I think it's so much stronger than copying out in Windows Explorer because it's going to take you through a lot of things. It's going to make you ensure that you actually have, and I don't really want to do this, but I'll just do that. It's going to ensure that you actually bring, yeah, I knew it was going to yell at me. I'm in an active project and it's not going to let me do it. I was hoping to just fake it out so I could just show you guys the project. We'll just use this one. So if I were to create this new one, the beautiful part about this is it's actually, there's only one drawing in here. It's actually going to check to see any other support files that you have with it, like your title block setup, your project line labels, and it'll bring all of that over to your new project. So if you want to copy the whole project, you can do that. The root of the question though, and it actually does file renaming as well, much like Matt talked about with copy design. In this case, though, if you're just trying to copy one drawing from one project to another, your copy to is probably your best bet. So two different ways. If you're using Vault, you can definitely do what Matt said, or that you can do it from inside the controls of electrical.
Okay, next question comes from David. He actually has two questions, so we'll start with the first one here. I have a lot of problems with off-sheet references if I have to add or delete a sheet. Is there a document or tutorial that could help me with this?
Okay, I'm trying to find it because I want to be able to read it too. Okay, so that to me tells me, and forgive me, David, because I don't know what your setup is, but that to me tells me that perhaps you're not utilizing all the tools within electrical, because there should be. So one of the things back when I did controls design, before I did it in electrical, we used to have a ton of blank sheets that we would have throughout the project. So in case you had to add extra things, you didn't have to relabel all of the ladders, you didn't have to redo everything, and you would use them. And if not, they were just blank in the project so that they were there if you needed them. In electrical, you don't have to do that. You don't have to have that cut sheet mentality. You can actually put a sheet in between things, and you can use the project-wide tools like update and retag. Let's say I want to go from drawing 4, I want to put one between 4 and 5. I could say that I want it to retag everything. I want all of my ladder references to bump up by 100. So if I have them at 400, then 500. So, and then if I want my sheet number to bump up, I could do that, and so on. And if you were to do that, then what you do is when you grab all your drawings, you say, I just want to grab everything from 5 and above so that everything bumps up from there. And that becomes your cut sheet. So now 4 stays the same. Your new drawing is going to come in and be 5, and 5 is going to become 6, 6 is going to become 7, and so on. Now, if you are utilizing, and just to go back to the beginning of this, if you're utilizing all of the intelligent functionality of electrical, including all of your signal cross-references, so if you're using source and destination arrows, all of those will update. They will recognize the new references, and all of this retagging of your wire numbers and your signal references will all update accordingly. So it should be very easy to do cut sheets and not have to have all of those blank drawings kept in there. And you shouldn't have any of that functionality issue. So my question would be, do you perhaps have a blended workflow where there's some vanilla basic AutoCAD in there that doesn't have the intelligence of electrical? That would be the root of what I would think of. but it's a good question and a good discussion point. Just really fast before we move on to David's second question, I noticed someone made a comment about please enable full screen. Matt, do you not see full screen of my computer?
No, it is full screen.
Okay.
The only thing I'm thinking is if your video, so we have your video turned on as well, so that
Okay.
will kind of bite into some of the real estate there.
Oh,
You
okay.
can use, I
I
think,
could
2
shut off video if
screens.
people don't. Yeah.
No, there's a way to kind of organize it so you can get full screen if you'd really like. So, yeah, I think it's just a configuration on their end.
On their end. Okay, just
Yeah.
checking. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't. To me, it is absolutely the full screen of my monitor, so that's why I wanted to make sure it was coming through that
Yeah,
way. Okay.
there's a
Okay.
use 2 screens button at the top, which will put your video on one screen and then your screen on another screen. So,
Got it.
yeah.
Good deal. All right.
All right. Yeah, next question. So David's second question is a little bit down, so we'll get to kind of just what's in the order
Okay.
here. So there is Phoenix Contact Integration, so Terminal Blocks Builder. How
Yep.
does that integration work?
Yeah, so that's exactly what and maybe that came in before I actually, because I think all these kind of came in pretty fast, but that is exactly what I was showing in the import export. So Phoenix and Wago have both worked with us to create these integrations, and you can see what it says right there. It creates an XML file of your terminal strips and any accessories for an import into Phoenix Contact's Clip Project application. And I don't use that application often. I don't have it on my computer to show it, but my understanding is you can also then import back what that builds up so that you can put it right into your project. It's a cross collaboration between the two.
Perfect. Okay, and then Michael was a comment to his previous one. And then
Okay.
Armani asks, how can I get the terminal number to obtain the number of the line instead to increase number? For example, line 407, the terminal block should get 407.
Great question. So that is all about those terminals that I was showing you, the different types of terminals we have. So when you go to assign terminals, the key is picking the type of terminal that you want. So it either inherits the wire number or it does its own unique numbers. So just to give you, for everybody to know this, between the 4 types, and remember there are 5 different styles. So you can, this is going to be a rinse and repeat, even though I'm going to use square as the example with all of the different shapes that you see on here, but every one of them carry these 4 options. There is a blank non-intelligent symbol. It is literally just going to give you a placeholder in whatever shape it is, but it does not carry any block properties or information to it. It is a dummy terminal. The next one is the wire number carrying the terminal carrying the wire number that it is associated with. That also means it does not force a wire number change as that wire passes through that terminal. The third one is same situation. It does not force a wire number change as it passes through, but instead of it carrying the wires properties, it will get its own unique identifier. The final one, it's going to get a unique identifier and it is going to cause a wire number change as it passes through. So wires on both sides will now have new numbers. So that is the difference between those 4 different types of terminals we have. So to your question, you just need to be using this one or any of them. It could be round, right? But any of them that say with wire number, that's what will carry the wire number properties on it. And if you already have them on the drawing, that's a great opportunity to go into your schematic editing tools and use the swap update block. And you can swap that terminal for the other terminal type that you want. So you don't have to go through and reinsert all of them. You can just do a swap on it. Good question.
All right, perfect. So now we get to David's second question.
Okay.
So he says, I tried to automate a cable schedule on a project and it did not go well. Is there a document or tutorial to help me with this? And then a follow-up comment, the cable schedule is just for field devices and cables between panels.
Okay, so I don't know why it didn't go well. I'd love to unpack that perhaps a little bit more. There is tons of information in our help. I would go up and look for the cable reports that we have and see if that can't help you. My guess is it didn't go well because either you didn't customize the report the way you wanted to see it, or perhaps you didn't insert the cables in best way to be able to actually populate those reports. So, and I just clicked on the wrong one. If you go to your schematic reports and you come down, you have a couple different cable options here. You have cable summaries, and then you have a cable from to. Now, I think you, let me see, you wanted a cable schedule. So I'm assuming that's more the summary. You could play with both of them to see though what you specifically need. And you would choose then in here. Now, if you just wanted field devices, hopefully you're naming those as field. That would be a key to actually utilizing a location code. And you could actually say, I want to find all field labeled locations for all cables, because that's going to be able to help you concatenate that data in a different way. Now, I'm just going to say all for the essence of actually seeing a report. But when you do this, then you can get the cable list, the sheet number, you know, manufacturing information, references, any description. This would be your full cable summaries. Now, if you go to your report format here, you can actually add a lot of different pieces of information and fields to build up this report. If what you're actually looking for with the schedule is the from to be able to get all of that information, that is the other report. And again, that one can be customized as well. So I would just say, make sure you're going in there to really see, are you using the cable tools? Are you actually assigning cable information utilizing the actual cable link tools inside of here? So if we go back to our schematics and we want to add all of our cable markers in there. So if you're actually putting cable markers in, you know, are you doing all of your fan in outs? Are you creating all of the source and destination information intelligently? And then are you also utilizing the reports to their full capability? Like, are you editing and adding things as you need them? If not, you know, I'd look at which one of those might be the challenge, because it should be, just like you said, quite easy to do a cable schedule automatically. That's one of the great benefits of utilizing a tool like electrical, is that it gives you those kinds of reports really easily. And with that, Matt, I don't know if there's one that we can do in 3 minutes, but
Yeah, I've kind of been looking at a few of them, maybe some that a lot of people might be able to relate to.
mhm.
So I just want to make a comment. So Derek Giles, he asked about electrical and Revit. He said that was a great answer, all capitals. So thank you for
Excellent.
that.
Good,
And
thank you.
then Donald asks, is there an AutoCAD electrical champion at Autodesk?
That you're looking at her.
You're looking at her, yeah. And then also Richard asks, I'm a beginner and wanted to know if there's an online course or tutorial for AutoCAD electrical. So something for beginners, maybe where to start, Tiffany.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so there's lots of different avenues that you could take that with tutorials. So first of all, AU Online, so Autodesk University Online, has tons of classes over the years from electrical experts like myself. I actually have quite a few on there that are called Getting to Know Electrical, or many of them I called Feeling the Spark for electrical. I know, haha, play on words, but those are all of my beginner courses that really get you set up for success. There is also, so there's a ton of tutorials inside the help menu within electrical right out of the gate. There's also some great content out there from our partners. So Ascent has books and manuals that you can order, and you can go through those. I Get It, myigetit.com, if you go to that, has a fantastic AutoCAD electrical course. That's one of my favorites. It's very similar to what I would take you through if I were to actually deliver a course to you. So those are really good walkthrough courses that will guide you through exercises and then content on how to build and get you set up for success. Training is key. I will say that to every one of you. Don't try to learn this on your own. Most people try to learn AutoCAD on their own, and that's good and it works. Although even that I challenge is not, you tend to do things, the joke is you can do things 7 different ways in AutoCAD. But I can definitely tell you over the years, there are good ways and there are less efficient ways. And in some cases, there are downright bad ways, because you're just breaking associativity and other things when you use some of those, like exploding. So you definitely want to take a class with electrical, because that's how you're going to ensure that you actually use the full capabilities of everything it has, and that you set yourself up for success of actually being able to draw on those reports, do all those things. So it's probably roughly 3 days of your life that will be very well spent, because it'll save you lots of time of trying to just bowl through it on your own, which will honestly just take up more time. So that's my advice, is take a class, or at least do a self-guided training. And I'm sure there are other ones out there that I didn't list, so I'm not selling any particular one.
Yeah, and Tiffany, that was perfect. We are right at noon, 10 seconds over. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Matt, as always, for your help. And thank you, everyone, for your fantastic questions and for joining me. Excited to see you all. Next month, we will be doing a special one of these for AU. So look for more information. I'm still coming up with what I'm going to do to kind of change it up to make it extra special for AU. But we will have a special session of this during Autodesk University. Thank you all. Bye.
Yep, thank you.